that's like my baby album. That's my my Illmatic or my Reasonable Doubt. You know, whether it happens to anyone else, I got that album for me. Like I finally get it off my chest. And you know what that you know what that's like, man.
It's the relief, dude.
It's the relief. It's I'm not delusional.
The
this
accomplishment.
wasn't delusions of grandeur. This wasn't like just a dude trying to be something he wasn't. It was like, okay, I'm good.
What's up, everybody? For DJ Syko, I'm here with the awesome DMProgress, also affiliated with the Drumetrics as well. So off the bat, dude, I'm gonna ask you this.
Yeah.
Let everybody who doesn't know who you are, who you are, where you're from, and what you do.
Okay, so I go by DMProgress, DMP the Poet Emcee.
Well, excuse me.
He didn't read the notes, so I'm gonna carry it for him. Play to the cameras.
Yeah, you do that. I got this.
Nah, so where I'm from?
Yeah.
It's not where you're from, it's where you're at, though, right? Okay,
exactly. But
I did some homework.
Answer the question, because it was the question.
I don't know. I kind of like to evade it, because if people are acting a certain way, oh yeah, Cali all day, Cali all day. But if they start acting a certain way about Cali, I'm not from the A, bro. Check the hat, you know. Nah, my family's originally from Atlanta, Georgia, and but I've spent time all over the place, Midwest. Spent some time in Florida, getting a diverse education in Miami bass and Florida breaks and New York hip hop. And then, got back to Georgia, spent some time. My formative musical years were in Athens, Georgia, the classic city of Athens. I mean, at any given time, there's 300 to 500 bands coming out of that small town.
Dope.
All the time. So, I mean,
the Braves.
And then, getting over to Atlanta, and before I made the journey out here about 20 years ago. So, if people try to say where you're from, it's like I got pockets of, depending on what's going on, I might be from somewhere else.
Yeah, no, I'm originally from LA, so I don't have a shame saying it. But it's like you said, the important thing is you're in San Diego now. Yep. You're working with great artists.
Right here, SC.
So let them know what you do, brother.
I'm a poet, man. That's to break it down to its most basic. I am a poet, but then I'm a beat poet. I'm a lyricist. We come from a time where if you didn't have dope lyrics with your metaphors and your similes and your references, you ain't in here grunting on a track. The only time you're grunting is if it's like the third ad-lib, right? So, man, I'm a lyricist, but if you break it down, just the kid that learned to do poetry in high school and then was like, let me apply this to what my homies are doing. My friends had turntables. They had a little rap crew, none of them are still doing their thing as far as like rapping, but my best friend's still DJing, the one who was like had the turntables in the crew.
Nice. So. And so you started, obviously, you just said poetry. Was it more of like book poetry? Was it more spoken word?
No, it was lyrical poetry.
Okay.
I mean, immediately when I realized I could write, there was like a competition in English class.
Okay.
And I won the they gave us like cards with words on them, and they were like, I'll put together a poem off the fly, like off the cuff. And I did it.
Poetry freestyle, basically.
Yeah, poetry freestyle.
That's dope.
And they, I don't know what you won or what you, but in the class when you're in like 10th grade, it doesn't matter. You're like, yo, I won that. So, but it showed me, I was like, man, I didn't even know I could write poetry. I didn't even know I was a poet. And then as soon as that happened, I was like, all right, I'm working on my first album, so I was like right to it. As soon as I had like 12, lyrics without, I wasn't even writing to a beat,
That's
I just thought, I got my first album ready, just.
So even though you won a poetry contest, let's just say, you started going from poetry straight to like an MC poetry?
Yeah, my mind was right there immediately. Okay. It wasn't like, violets or whatever and roses or this. Like I wasn't trying to like pick up females. I was like, yo, I'm gonna be an MC now. Like it was just,
Okay, so I guess my next question would be, poetry is what actually made you become like a poet or lyricist, or was there any artist or any movies or anything where as a kid you'd look and say like, this influenced me to become who you are? I
mean, at that time, the rave culture was really big in Florida. And, you know, like I said before, Florida breaks, Miami bass, and then, you know, New York hip hop was just heavy influence where I was in Florida. Okay. So I was already in that culture. We were already going to raves, like, you know, in our mid-teens down there, and the raves were pretty big. So I had a diverse palette musically, but I didn't know that I was supposed to contribute, you know. But when I started seeing, like, oh, coming over to my friend's house, he's like, oh, I just got turntables, and I'm just like, okay. You know, I didn't really know what that meant, you know. And roll in, I'm like, oh, okay, so this is what it is. And they had been working on like a crew, you know, like a little rap crew. So I was like, all right, well, when I found out I could write, I was like, oh, okay, it's already here. The venue's already here, or the, you know, the place to develop that. So it kind of just fell in place. Okay. It wasn't like I wanted to be before, you know? Yeah. So, you know.
So if you didn't have any early influences of like any artists, like who influences you now?
Well, I mean, let me rephrase that. So early artist inspirations. Yeah. This one's for Rex. You know, I was a big Beastie Boys fan.
He loves the Beastie Boys.
I mean, we were influenced by so much, man. Like, we were just lovers of music, but obviously, like, it was centered around break. It was centered around the breaks, you know, break dancing. Yeah. You know,
break beats,
like, especially when you had the rave culture in the 90s in Florida, it wasn't just like these dudes raving out and doing a bunch of drugs. I mean, that was there, but it was completely like, it was a cocktail of that.
They found us.
Oh, yeah, man, I was spitting too many bars.
They're coming to get you.
You reached you fulfilled your quota and you violated. No, so it was this crazy cocktail or mix of the hip hop and the dance. So it was always centered around kind of dance music or breaks or break, you know, and going to a lot of b-boy jams out there too. So that was the heavy influence. I don't like necessarily naming, but I mean, if I had to say like my top 5 groups, I would be like, Rage Against the Machine, Beastie Boys, Sade, Willie Nelson, Outkast, you know, like groups, like musical. So the musical palette is very broad, you know, so all genre.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, as a DJ, I guess the same thing. Like, I don't even know if people know this. My first tape I ever bought, bro, was Motley Crue.
Cool.
You know what I mean? Yeah. But then I still had like New Edition. There was still some like, you know, like Run DMC, like all that shit. Yeah. So what did like the early setup look like of you recording?
So for me recording, it wasn't until, so right after high school in Florida, like 2 days later, I moved back to Georgia. My family had moved from Florida there, and I was finishing high school like by myself. I was living with a friend and his mom. And so like days after that, we went to Georgia, and then immediately there was a little scene in downtown Athens. This is where UGA is, the Bulldogs. But yeah, a lot of music going on. So I was just kind of like, I'd buy what I could. I'd buy Beat Machine from the crew. They'd send it up to me. And then, you know, it's like an old boss thing. Like,
yeah, dude.
You know, and then I'm like, let me get that 4-track. So I bought the 4-track, the Tascam. Yeah. So I was trying to do some of that. You know, I never got proficient where I was just recording myself. It was more like programming some beats, writing to it. And then I ran into another kid who was kind of like the same level I was. We met over like a hip hop magazine at the time, Elemental.
Oh, shit.
It was like the second, I think it was the first or second issue. The store he was working at had them. They would always bring a stack of Elementals in there. Yeah. Because they were from Atlanta originally.
Oh, really?
And yeah, okay. So the first editions were like, that was like, oh, my brother's he was on the cover breakdancing because my brother's a b-boy. And I'm like, oh, this is us. Like, this is like right now. This is the underground. Obviously, it got bigger and turned into like a bigger magazine. But meeting over the culture. And then he was like, oh, what's your contribution? So he was like, oh, I do the same thing. So we started rapping together. We weren't recording. We didn't have anybody like, you know, capable. And then another guy in the scene who was kind of like already in an established band and who was already running open mics and stuff was like, hey, you two, you can get with you two. So it was a bass player and a drummer who was playing like hip hop together. Yeah. But they didn't have any MCs. So he was like, wait, you guys need to, and that was it. So we were about 5 or 6 years. We were like a very active hip hop band.
Dope.
That was kind of, so I didn't start recording. I actually started on the stage.
Okay.
So, you know, and then we started recording. Like short after we were in the band, and the bass player's like, oh, I got a recording set up with a computer, early PC with like PreSonus or whatever it was. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, so yeah, I never really was like a studio MC until I had already hit the stage.
Okay, so is this around 97 or is this...
No, sorry.
Because you started in 97,
Yeah, 97 was when I kind of had that like realization that I could write, and then I was just working on that. You couldn't tell me anything. I was like, oh, I'm going to be an MC.
I got you.
So, and then in 99, I moved to Athens, and then I was just grinding on the lyrics. So by the time we hit the stage, it was somewhere between 2000 and 2001.
Okay. And then, so that kind of leads me, and sorry to cut you off, but like into the next question. So you hit the stage first before you're more studio, correct?
I mean, I never recorded anything until I was already on the stage.
And was that, and that's with the band and everything? Yeah. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. So that's how it formed, was like, you got, your boy put you guys together.
Yep.
You guys hit the stage for the first time.
It was a battle of the bands.
Do you remember the venue? And like the performance?
It was Wild Wings Cafe. They did wings.
Okay.
And
were they wild?
It depends.
Gotcha.
You know, how hot you want to go. Yeah. This is long before what's the Hot Ones, or what's the
Hot Ones, yeah, the show. Yeah.
It was long before Hot Ones, but they had a battle of the bands, and we never played before, but we had like they had enough like beats in their repertoire. They had some Outkast beats. They were playing like Wheels of Steel.
Oh, dope.
They had some cool stuff that they had some Diggable Planets, and then they could jam. Yeah. So we just rolled up as like a improv on stage almost, kind of. And I want to say that we won the Battle of the Bands, or we either came in second. But that one just kind of launched us into the scene there, because it was like, who are these guys and what's going on? So, I mean, after that, it was just shows and recording and, the like.
So since you were, doing stuff with the live band, you guys won or came in second. That's what progressed you, like, to keep the music going and everything. Yeah. So how did that lead you to Drumetrics?
Well, like I said, with the history of being around the breaks and the break beats and the dance.
Who else would you want?
So being, if we can connect this, I started in a live capacity, right? I didn't start as a studio MC or on social media, because we didn't have social media.
Exactly.
I started on the stage.
Yeah.
So I worked out my stage performance. I always felt comfortable with the band. Even when I, moved away from the band to come out west in the mid-2000s, I didn't want to just be, so it was like, okay, beat machines, synthesizers, do what you can to have like a nice sounding show.
Yeah, for sure.
You're not just rapping over a CD or a backtrack, right?
Yeah.
So, and then just years of me chasing music coast to coast. I was chasing music pretty strongly as DMProgress through to about 2010, and just life happened, life be lifing. And once that happened, it was like I took a long break, probably about 3 or 4 years, and I started dabbling a little bit after I kind of had the indication like it's okay to start again.
Yeah.
But there's been multiple times, and I know you know how this is, where you're like, you can't tell me anything else. This is what I'm gonna do, and I got that crew, or I'm getting momentum, and then life happens and you get knocked off the horse. So that's happened a few times to me. But to bring this into now time. Going through those different seasons of life, and then just always being drawn to a live band and the raw breaks.
Yeah, because it makes you feel like comfortable, like you're used to that.
That's home,
for sure.
man. Like give me those dirty drums and something in that live PA.
Yeah.
Right. So like, coming across Drumetrics in like probably 2015, maybe the end of 2015 or early 2016. I caught up with them at a show they were doing. It was called Parallel. Co-op. It was an artist co-op. I forgot their name. Co-op Collective or Cohort Collective. That's what it's. Cohort Collective. They rented out, and then Barrio Logan. I don't know if they were going to demolish these apartments, but they're side by side. So they got them all.
Really?
And they put artists in every single room. And the Drumetrics had their own room. So there's this crazy art and music show. So every apartment in both side by side, or like side by side, like super close. That's why they call it parallel.
Bro, yeah.
So one of the rooms had Drumetrics. I had caught wind of them probably on social media. So I was like, yo, my wife and I rolled down there. We're both, very into the arts as well. So I can kind of coax her to get down there. But yeah, rolled into the Drumetrics room. They took an intermission, and I ran into DRB on the break.
Yeah.
And,
and that's
pretty much it. Because I was like, yo, I was about to start Tape of the Month Club.
Yeah, see, that's what I was going to ask, if that was before, during,
It was during, because they started in 2015 from their other iterations of like Dirty Drums and all the different MHE and MRR, all the things that they were doing as far as remixing, Ghostface or Ganja Sufi. There was a bunch of stuff they were remixing and doing like 7-inch singles and whatnot. And then this is when it was finally like, okay, this merged into what Drumetrics was in 2015. And so it wasn't too long after that I met him. And then as soon as I met him, I was like, hey, what's up with putting the B-sides on cassette? Because I was starting Tape of the Month Club. I was going to do a cassette every month by someone else. I was going to curate artists and just, bring stuff tangible again.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
So he was like, yo, you got to talk to MRR. He runs all that. So he linked us up. And yeah, man, I got in the studio over there and just pitched it to him. And he was really into it. Because I'm like, I know there's B-sides that don't make the records. Because when they were putting the 10 inches out, right, when the 10 inches were dropping, I was like, okay, you guys are getting 6 songs on these or whatever, because they're trying to do high fidelity. I'm like, I know there's some B-sides. So, we did a few tapes over a span of like 7 years. There were some breaks in there where I wasn't even operating. It was just established and it was there.
Yeah.
I would get a sale every now online, but I wasn't like actively pushing Tape of the Month Club for a while. And then about 2023, they were bringing Qbert down. So it was Gaslamp Killer, Qbert, Drumetrics, Music Box.
Yeah, okay, so here, not LA, because LA was Boiler Room, I think, right?
Yeah, okay, this was a little bit after that. And they were like, yo, we need some tapes for the show. So that just basically brought Tape of the Month Club back to life. DMProgress was still kind of like, I wasn't sure. I wasn't even, it was dormant. I'll put it that way. Nobody was stirring it up. I didn't have any prospects. I wasn't working on anything. Nobody was sending me beats.
Wow.
I was working on a bunch of stuff for myself, but it wasn't like, it had a roadblock because I needed an engineer and someone who can mix and master. I can do so much by myself.
Yeah, exactly.
So everything was just kind of like a big question mark. I was going through some real life stuff at that time. So MRR hit me with a lifeline. Like, hand to God type of stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, yo, bro, like this is, and he was speaking to all things that he didn't know I was going through, but he was speaking to them like directly.
Yeah, no, I got
directly
you.
to like finite words, like words like legacy.
Yeah.
So, so that whole thing just sparked the relationship again. I had stayed in touch with those guys, but life is happening for everybody. And then it wasn't until, in 2025, I had a chance to start putting records out under Tape of the Month Club, where it wasn't going to be just cassettes. And then I started getting new stuff from their archives. The DRB 001 is the origin story of Drumetrics before it was called Drumetrics. So they had been sitting on these drums that whole time. So when DRB hit me up, I was like, hey, I want to put out my 001. We were ready for that, and had a chance to cut records locally with a place called Tasty Wax Records. What's up, Lee? So yeah, man, being able to get records locally, packaged, professional, high fidelity. Yeah. You can buy one or you can get 100 done, whatever. So he's been a great resource and friendship and partnership for me, getting Drumetrics back to wax.
What do we have in the front? Oh yeah, so this is your solo joint too.
Yeah, so around the same time, a little bit after that was all going on, after 2023, I reconnected with my bass player from my old band. The band for back home was LMNOP.
What was the name of the group?
LMNOP.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I thought that was his name.
Yeah, no, it's the Element of Progression.
Okay.
But we had an acronym. It was like LMNOP, like playing words, from the alphabet.
Yeah.
So
is that what that is? No, just fucking
I know. Sometimes you gotta spell it out.
Yeah, exactly.
Literally. So Yeah, reconnected with my bass player. He was the engineer for us back in the day, and kind of like the song structure writer. He would keep us from noodling too much or too much improv.
Gotcha.
So yeah, we reconnected. We stayed in touch over the years, but I started kind of like, hey, what's up? And then out of nowhere, he's like, hey, tell me what MIDI controller to get. I'm teaching myself Logic right now. So I was like, yo, check these out, check this out.
Yeah.
And then he started feeding me beats, and that led to kind of the album I had been trying to get off my chest since like that 9/7, when I was like, I'm making a true hip hop, pure form hip hop, boom bap. That album I had tried to get off my chest multiple times.
And that's the one that's online right now, right?
So there's 3 singles out for that. I haven't put the album out yet because people aren't ready. They don't, I'm not visible enough at the time. So I'm working on that, but I am bringing them up to speed with projects I did from the early 2000s to the mid 2000 teens. And then we have 3 singles off the full length that's on the way. So those are on tapeofthemonthclub.com, and those are, that's like my baby album. That's my my Illmatic or my Reasonable Doubt. Whether it happens to anyone else, I got that album for me. Like, I finally get it off my chest. And you know what that's like, man.
It's the relief, dude.
It's the relief. I'm not delusional.
The accomplishment.
This wasn't delusions of grandeur. This wasn't like just a dude trying to, be something he wasn't. It was like, okay, I'm good, And then
do you want to get into like these photos real quick? Because I know these are crazy. Like, this is hilarious.
So the first one is, the first single is Crate Digging with Aaron B. So this is my best friend from back in the day. He was the one with the turntables in Florida when we were like 14, 15 years old. And this is him opening up for my band. So he was digging in his crates. A place called the 40 Watt in Athens, Georgia. A staple spot back there. But anyways, 35 millimeter of him digging in his crates at the live show.
And you took these pictures, correct?
I shot that one, yeah. And then the second single is Legacy Over Loot, which this is me at the age my son is now. So there's a obviously I didn't take this selfie, my sister took it, but this is me passing that legacy, saying I'm ready to pass this legacy to my son. And then these are those times. This is a 35 millimeter. I was downtown Atlanta. There was a building I always wanted to shoot, so I was out shooting this old brick building in downtown that was like abandoned. I was like, this place is dope. I got to shoot this. So I was down there shooting 35 millimeters, and I look up, and this guy, there's some commotion, a little bit of smoke. This dude's car starts smoking, and then they're like trying to fan it. He's trying to pour water on it. People are trying, and then like next thing you know, boom, his car is just engulfed in flames. Man, this poor brother was like, so I'm sitting up there on top of the roof of this old abandoned building, like just shooting it. I was shooting panoramics and stuff. Yeah. So this one turned into the cover art for These Are Those Times. And kind of the idea of this is, I'm sitting on an archive of music, kind of bottled up music and bottled up ideas. And then I have a huge box of 35 millimeters I used to shoot as a amateur photographer, an art school kid.
Yeah.
So now I'm just taking these covers. Like, these aren't from, some stock place. These are all going to be like analog photography where I have it. Obviously, I might get to the point where I don't have analog anymore.
All right, so real quick, let's get into this one right now because technically it's almost whoever orders that, right, can kind of get like a limited press because you can. I don't know if it was just us getting blessed or if that's for anybody, but we got to choose.
Yeah.
Me and Rex from Soulside Vinyl, we were able to select the tracks we wanted off of the album.
Yes. So first and foremost, this is what happened. So when I was telling that story of Drumetrics reaching out to me looking for some sets for that Music Box show, at around the same time they had been heavily putting out drum packs. So they're recording raw analog drums on golden era equipment and golden era methods. So from the drum kits that are like 60s drum kits, classic, like very sought after, to all the analog electronic gear, to the reel-to-reels, and the microphones. So all this stuff is era specific to what all the hip hoppers were sampling from everyone else. And then at some point, MRR was like, oh, because he's reading all the liner notes on all these albums. He's like, oh, they use that. Oh, they use this. So he was like, okay. So he went from pulling stuff on dirty drums from everyone else to going, oh, let's just record our own for people to pull from us. So they were doing drum packs after they were doing all the albums. They switched into that. So what this is called Drumtron, and this is a series where any producers who use the Drumetrics drum catalog, their drum packs in remixes or any kind of main project, this is kind of like the maiden voyage. So this is Casquiat. This is a guy from the Bay, super dope, old school, like 90s DJ. He has some of his... He said he got his start in the early 90s, inspired from the blend DJs like Ron G, Dirty Harry, Juice, and then, but then, in the 2020s, he started mixing into going from being a DJ to doing remixes. So if you guys look up Casquiat, it's like Basquiat with a C, I'm sorry. This is not his only project. He's got some really dope sevens out, some dope tapes, and a lot of really dope digital remixes. So he was sending this stuff to MRR and tagging him, and MRR was like, yo, let's do a cassette. Like, this guy's got like 5 classic 90s R&B with the Drumetrics drums underneath.
Oh, yeah.
Because you guys chose Freak Me.
That was me.
Yeah,
I chose Freak Me, dude. Shout out to Silk.
And Stay. So we got Freak Me by Silk and Stay by Jodeci, and there's 3 other tracks on the EP, but this is a 7-inch single. So shout out to Soulside Vinyl for supporting and making this come into fruition, making it come into life, because it was just a cassette and digital. I had been wanting to make it into record, but yeah, the time is now for that. So that's that project. And then we also have the DRB 001, which I said before is the origin stories before Drumetrics was Drumetrics.
All right, so before we get into the last thing, which is, I love the fact that we're saving the best for last.
Yeah.
I'm just fucking with you.
For sure.
But DMProgress, explain how you got that name.
So my initials are DMP.
Okay, that's what I figured. So I knew the D, but I was just like...
So this is just me, as a teenager sketching out, what's going to be my name.
Yeah.
So it was determination and movement for progress. So, I mean, for years I just went by MC Progress, but just Progress,
Gotcha.
People call me Progress, Mr. Gress, but it had always been DM Progress, and it wasn't until I think the mid-2000s I started seeing a bunch of other Progress, reggae artists, MCs, and I was like, all right, I got to put the DM in front of it. But yeah, it's just my initials, DMP, Determination and Movement for Progress is the acronym.
Hell yeah.
And just, Progress for short.
I love it. It actually even fits perfect working with Drumetrics.
Yeah.
Which is crazy, right?
With the acronym of your initials being your artist name. Yeah. So maybe that'll get me in the door somewhere. But I will say though, as of about 2 weeks ago, I signed as Drumetrics manager. So there's a lot of missing holes in this story.
Yeah.
But the bigger story is after we started, venturing into this next season for Drumetrics, I did sign as their manager. So
I love it, man. Congratulations, brother.
DMProgress and Drumetrics are, and this is me going back to the breaks, right?
Yeah. No,
Chasing
I got
the breaks.
And then just to give them a little sneaky taste, we also have a project that we're going to start working on.
Yep.
So
DJ Syko, DMProgress.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
Real quick, just to let everyone know, you guys, the first time we're going to reveal something, but the first time I saw that, I want to say, no, maybe I'm wrong because I'm thinking of maybe the drum pad is the first thing I saw that was reviewed by Qbert.
Yeah.
But I want to say he reviewed the box set as well.
So what that was, he had just reviewed the Drumetronome, which is a drum book. We'll flash that on the screen. We don't have enough film for you guys, so you're going to have to be patient, okay? No, but the Drumetronome, so Qbert and Kendo, Thud Rumble, the freshest kids are... It's Get Fresh crew.
Yeah, there you go. I was like, what?
The whole crew, gave them some love. So they reviewed the Drumetronome, which is a drum book loaded with Drumetronomes, with Drumetrics analog drums. And so you saw that, and then we met at the Kubert show.
Yeah.
And then I was given the box set and the 8-inch to Kendo and Kubert. So that was how we met.
Gotcha. Yes.
We're meeting over the breaks.
Yeah, for sure. It's always tied to it, bro.
But yeah, segue that into the rest of that question.
Yeah. So basically, you guys put out a box set, and is it a 5-inch or is it a 3? It's 5, right?
Yeah, 5-inch. So working with Tasty Wax Records, as I said before, this is a commercial for him over there. Whatever you need from 5-inch vinyl up to 12-inch vinyl, he will conceptualize and theorize with you until he can bring something that's dope, that's never been done before. So when cassettes were my main thing, Tape of the Month Club, kind of small. Like, well, I'd like to do 7s. We did 8s, but I was like, I'd really like to do 5s because he told me I can cut 5s.
Yeah, which
and
is crazy.
I found out 5-inch records fit into CD media. So you can find all kinds of open CD media to fit your 5-inch records in. So.
All right, so let's lead into this.
So yeah, the DRB 001, the Origin Story Sessions for Drumetrics. This is 8 drum performance tracks. If you're a producer, if you're a musician, if you're an MC, like, this is a treasure trove of breaks, but it's drum performances. So there's 8 full songs where he's just drumming. And these are all recorded with, a classic 60s drum kit, and then, the proper microphone and a suitcase reel-to-reel. So this is just all analog, raw, golden era. And then also one track has a reverb delay. I forgot the actual, I think it is reverb delay, but.
And then, so basically, I'm sorry to cut you off, but these are already limited as is, like.
So these are made to order. So when I put these out on tapeofthemonthclub.com, if people didn't order them, they weren't existing. So here's how the records look. There's 4 of these in here. So 8 tracks will have one performance of drums on each side. So you got the 8 tracks in there, and these are made to order. These are laser cut box sets. So Lee's laser cutting these one by one,
which is crazy.
And then when Soulside and Tape of the Month Club, DMProgress, Drumetrics all kind of started this new relationship, I was like, yo, why don't we do some super special editions with the Soulside vinyl logo laser cut in the backside. So that's kind of the special. So only a few of these were made. So if you want to get down here, there is a few different colorways. So we have the black and white. There is a black and kind of a brown. Once it cuts, it reveals the insides of the box.
And the brown
and then
silver.
There's like the recycled chipboard brown kind of cardboard vibe too. Super special edition. So y'all reach out to Rex and Mark, DJ Syko, come down to Soulside Vinyl and get you a fix.
All right, so thank you guys. I want to say I appreciate you.
Come on, man.
No, seriously, brother, thank you for everything you've done and what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
And I guess that brings us to the end of Off the Record from Soulside Vinyl. You want to give any shout outs or anything?
Yeah, I'll do a little shout out. So, excuse me, DJ Syko and DMProgress, we touched on it, but we're working on a project right now. So it'll probably live in a vinyl format and other formats as needed. But we are working on Turntablist meets MC, Turntablist producer, seasoned DJ meets a seasoned MC.
I was going to say, give yourself some props too, brother.
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing this. We've been doing this for like 30 years each, so we got about almost 60 years.
Oh yeah, bro. That's probably unfortunately for me, it's been longer.
Okay,
so like, so that's what's
so
up.
Don't let me undercut you.
No,
so we might have 65 to 70 years collectively. So y'all be on the lookout for that.
All right, guys, take care.
Chickadee. My neck bone's connected to my thigh bone.